This story is titled, My Parents Called Me Stingy While I Funded My Brother's Life for 3 years. They were shocked when I said no and moved out. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Okay, so I've been sitting on this story for a while now, trying to figure out how to even start explaining the mess my family turned into. I guess I should begin from where things started going sideways, which was right after I graduated college back in 2020. Yeah, COVID graduation. That was fun. So there I was, fresh out of college with my computer science degree. Nothing fancy like the F&N companies or anything, but I managed to land this pretty decent software dev job at a mid-sized company. The pay was good, started at $75,000, which isn't insane money, but definitely not bad for a first job in our area. The thing is, rent around here is absolutely ridiculous, talking like $2,000 plus for a decent one-bedroom. So I figured I'd be smart and stay with my parents for a bit to save up some cash. Quick background on my family situation. There's me, 27 male, my younger brother Marcus, 22 male, and my sister Sarah, 25 female, who was already living on her own and working on her PhD in another city. Our parents seemed pretty normal at first. Dad works in sales, mom's a high school teacher. Middle-class lifestyle, nothing too crazy. When I first moved back home, my parents were like, "We'll charge you $800 a month for rent, utilities included," which honestly seemed pretty fair at the time. Way cheaper than getting my own place, right? Sarah thought it was weird they were charging their own kid rent when they knew I was trying to save up. But I brushed it off. Man, I should have listened to her. Here's where things started getting interesting, and by interesting I mean completely messed up. Marcus was about to start college, and one night my parents sat me down for what they called a family meeting. You know those conversations that seem totally normal at first, but then you look back and realize that's where everything went wrong? Yeah, this was one of those. They started off real casual, like, "Hey, since you're making good money now and living here," conveniently forgetting about the rent I was paying them. "Maybe you could help out with Marcus's education?" The way they presented it made it sound so reasonable. They weren't asking for the whole thing, just wanted me to chip in because family helps family. I remember texting Sarah about it that night, and she immediately called me saying it was BS. "They're setting you up," she said. But I was like, "Nah, it's just a little help with tuition. What's the big deal?" Looking back now, Sarah saw the red flags from a mile away. The first semester, it was just helping with tuition, about $3,500. Then it was another $500 for books. Then Marcus needed a laptop because his old one was too slow for his engineering programs. That was another $1,200 right there. But hey, I was making decent money and living at home, so I could handle it, right? What I didn't realize at the time was how this was creating this weird power dynamic in the house. Like, I'd be trying to work from home. Remember, this was during COVID, and Marcus would have his friends over being loud AF in the next room. If I complained, my parents would be like, "Oh, he needs to distress from his studies." But if I wanted to have my friends over, suddenly it was, "We need quiet in the house," or "The living room's too messy for guests." The real kicker was how they started treating my spending habits. I'd buy myself something small, like a $60 game, and my mom would make these passive-aggressive comments like, "Must be nice to have money to waste on games," or "I guess Marcus's education isn't that expensive if you can afford to buy games." Meanwhile, they had no problem with Marcus ordering Uber Eats 3 times a day, or buying new clothes every other week with my money. Sarah would visit sometimes and just watch all this going down with this look on her face. You know, that "I told you so" look that siblings get. She tried warning me multiple times that this wasn't normal, but I kept making excuses. "They're just looking out for Marcus," or "It's not that much money in the grand scheme of things." The worst part? I was actually proud at first. Like, genuinely felt good about being able to help my brother out. I'd see him walking to campus in the rain and think, I'm being a good big brother. Spoiler alert, that feeling didn't last long. Quick side note, throughout all this, I was still paying that $800 rent. Never missed a payment, never even paid late. But somehow that never came up when my parents would talk about how I was living rent-free. Their words, not mine, and should be grateful for the opportunity to give back to the family. Looking back now, I can't believe how blind I was to what was happening. Sarah keeps telling me it's not my fault, that manipulative people are good at making crazy situations seem normal. But man, when I think about how I let them set this precedent, it makes my stomach turn. Now helping with Marcus's tuition? Well, that was just the beginning. It's like they say, give someone an inch and they'll take a mile. Except in my case, they took several thousand miles and then complained about the view. Let me break down what a typical month looked like. I actually started keeping track in a spreadsheet because things were getting so crazy. $800 for rent to my parents. Around $3,500 for Marcus's tuition payments. $200 to $300 for his textbooks, because apparently he needed the newest editions. $400 to $500 for his school supplies, which somehow included a new gaming chair because it would help him study better, plus random stuff like food, clothes, and whatever else he needed. But wait, it gets better. One rainy day, I'm driving home from work and I see Marcus walking to campus, looking like a drowned rat. Felt bad for him. Stupid me, right? So I decided to buy him a car. Found this really decent 2019 Honda Civic. Low miles, clean history, good on gas. Spent like $19,000 on it, which was a pretty big chunk of my savings. But I figured it was a solid investment in my brother's education. You want to know what this ungrateful little shit said when I gave him the keys? Oh, I was kind of hoping for something more like Jake's BMW. This is kind of basic. Basic. The free car I bought him was basic. Sarah literally face-palmed when I told her about it later. But the car wasn't even the worst part. My parents apparently saw me buying Marcus a car as some kind of sign that I was secretly swimming in money. Next thing I know, Mom's washing machine breaks down. Instead of getting it fixed or buying a reasonable replacement, she starts dropping hints about this fancy Samsung model that's on sale for only $1,200. And because I'm still trying to be a good son, I buy it for her. You'd think she'd be grateful, right? Nah. 2 weeks later, she's complaining that her friend Helen has the model with the steam function, and how that would have been so much better for Dad's dress shirts. Then she starts having issues with her iPhone 11, and suddenly needs the iPhone 14 Pro because all her teacher friends have one. Another $1,000 down the drain. Not to be outdone, Dad starts talking about this Weber grill he's been eyeing. $1,200 later, he uses it twice, and then complains it's not the exact model he wanted. The old grill was working fine, BTW. He just wanted the fancy one to show off to the neighbors. Meanwhile, I'm driving my 2015 Toyota Corolla, which runs perfectly fine, thank you very much. Wearing clothes from Target and getting called Stingy because I don't want to go on their fancy family vacation to Hawaii. Like, hello? I'm paying for 2 households at this point. The absolute cherry on top? One day, I overhear my mom on the phone with my aunt, talking about how concerned she is about my spending habits. According to her, I was throwing money away on stupid stuff instead of investing in my future. The stupid stuff? My $15 a month gym membership and occasionally ordering pizza. I wish I was making this up. Sarah would visit every few weeks and just watch this circus with this mix of horror and fascination. She tried talking to our parents about it once, pointing out how they never asked her for money. She's in graduate school and barely making ends meet. You know what they said? Well, your brother makes good money. He can afford to help the family. Help the family. Right, because apparently dropping $40,000 plus in less than 2 years wasn't enough help. The money wasn't even the worst part, though. It was the attitude that came with it. Marcus started acting like my personal investment was his birthright. He'd literally text me stuff like, need $50 for dinner with friends? No please, no thank you. Not even a question mark. Just straight up telling me to send money. And my parents? They enabled this BS completely. Anytime I'd try to say no or suggest maybe Marcus could get a part-time job, they'd hit me with the family helps family guilt trip, or my personal favorite, we didn't raise you to be selfish. Pretty rich coming from people who were basically treating their own son like a walking wallet. I started trying to hide any signs that I had money. Stopped buying anything new for myself. Started bringing lunch to work instead of buying it. But somehow, they always knew when I got my bonus or a raise. To this day, I'm pretty sure my mom was checking my mail for bank statements. The real fun part was how they handled my friends coming over. Remember how I mentioned I was paying $800 in rent? Well, apparently that didn't give me the right to have friends over. Every time I tried to have people over, there was some excuse. The house is too messy. We need quiet. We're having a family night. But Marcus? This kid could have the entire engineering department over until 3 a.m. and my parents would just smile and say, boys will be boys. Now I'm going to tell you about the moment everything changed. It wasn't some big dramatic showdown like you see in movies. Actually, it was something so small and stupid that it's almost funny. It was a regular Tuesday evening. I just finished a 10-hour workday, because apparently being the family ATM meant I needed to pick up extra projects for more money. And Marcus comes barging into my room. Didn't knock or anything. Personal space wasn't really a thing in our house anymore. He needed money for books. Again. This was like the 3rd time that semester. which made zero sense because who needs that many books halfway through a term? But whatever, I was used to it by this point. What got me wasn't the request, it was his attitude. This kid literally rolls his eyes at me and goes, "Why do I always have to ask? Can't you just set up automatic transfers or something?" It's annoying having to ask every time I need money. The audacity of this little shit, I swear. It was like being mugged by someone who's annoyed that you're making them pull out their gun. I remember just sitting there, staring at my secondhand desk, because I couldn't waste money on new furniture while Marcus needed a gaming setup for study purposes, and something in my brain just clicked. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about how we got here. When exactly did I go from helpful older brother to family financing department? I opened up my banking app and started adding up everything I'd spent on them in the past 3 years. Big mistake. By 2 a.m., I was having what I can only describe as an existential crisis. Quick breakdown of what I found, and this still makes me nauseous. Marcus's tuition, approximately $21,000. That damn Civic, $19,000. Books and supplies, approximately $12,000. Mom's washing machine, $1,200. Mom's iPhone, $1,000. Dad's useless grill, $1,200. Random expenses for Marcus, approximately $15,000. Rent to my parents, $28,800. 800 times 36 months. Total, around $99,200, nearly $100,000. And that's just what I could track through my bank statements. Doesn't include all the cash I handed out, or the small stuff I stopped keeping receipts for. I felt sick, physically ill. Went to the bathroom and actually threw up. Then, because I clearly hate myself, I opened Reddit and started typing out this crazy long post about everything. Didn't expect much. Maybe a few people telling me I was an idiot. They wouldn't be wrong. The response fucking floored me. Within an hour, my inbox was exploding. But it was one comment that hit me like a truck. "Why do you set yourself on fire to keep others warm?" That line broke something in me. I started reading more comments, and it was like everyone could see what I couldn't. Your parents are financially abusing you. They're using you as a retirement plan and a college fund. Your brother sees you as an ATM because that's how your parents taught him to see you. They charge you rent and make you pay for everything? That's messed up. Sarah called me at 3 a.m. Because of course she was reading the Reddit post. She follows my account to keep tabs on my sanity, as she puts it. She was like, "Finally! I've been trying to tell you this for 3 years." The next day at work was weird. I kept thinking about all the comments. People sharing similar stories, talking about how they broke free, how much better their lives got once they set boundaries. It was like a fog lifting, you know? Then my mom texts me, "Marcus needs new winter tires for the Civic. The dealership quoted $800. Handle it this weekend, please." Not, "Can you help?" Or "Would you be able to?" Just handle it. Like I was her employee or something. I didn't respond, which was apparently unacceptable because an hour later, my dad calls. "Your mother texted you about the tires." Not a question, not a greeting, just straight to what they needed from me. "I saw it," I said. "Well, are you going to take care of it?" And that's when I said something I'd never said before. "No." The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, "What do you mean, no?" "It's your brother's safety we're talking about. It's not my car anymore. I gave it to him. His car, his tires, his problem." He started going off about family responsibility and how selfish I was being. Called me ungrateful. Reminded me how I was living in their house, conveniently forgetting the $800 a month rent again. I hung up. Just clicked the red button mid-rant. Then I opened my laptop and started apartment hunting. Not in our city, though. I was looking at places in different states. Because at that point, I knew I needed to get far away, or nothing would ever change. That night, I got another urgent text from Marcus about needing money for some group project supplies. I ignored it. Mom called twice. Ignored those too. Dad left a voicemail about how disappointed he was. Deleted it without listening. Sarah sent me a simple text. "Proud of you, bro. About damn time." So after my Reddit-induced awakening and saying no for the first time ever, things at home got weird af. Like passive-aggressive Olympics level weird. Mom would sigh loudly whenever I walked past her. Dad would watch me like I'd committed some horrible crime. Marcus was doing this thing where he'd talk about me while I was in the room, saying stuff like, "Some people don't care about family," to his friends on the phone. Real mature, right? Sarah had driven down to visit that weekend. She later admitted she came because she sensed shit was about to go down. Sister's intuition is scary sometimes. Saturday night, Mom made this big family dinner. Her signature pot roast, mashed potatoes, the whole 9 yards. Looking back, I should have known something was up, because she only makes the full spread when she wants something. We're all sitting there, this weird tension in the air, when Dad decides to drop the bomb. So, Marcus needs new tires for the Civic, plus his laptop's acting up. Probably need about $2,000 total to take care of everything. He says this super casually, like he's commenting on the weather or something. But I'd already said no to the tires thing now. They were trying to sneak it back in with the laptop as a bonus. Classic them. I put down my fork, still regret not finishing that potato. Mom's cooking is literally the only thing I miss. And said, actually, I'm not paying for any of that. Not the tires, not the laptop, not anything else. You know in movies when someone drops a glass and everything goes quiet? It was like that. Except nobody dropped anything. They all just froze. Marcus's fork was literally halfway to his mouth. Piece of pot roast just hanging there. Mom tried to laugh it off. Don't be silly, honey. Of course you're helping your brother. That's what family does. No, I said. That's what parents do. I'm not his parent. Dad's face went through like 5 different colors. Now listen here, he started. But I wasn't done. No, you listen. I've paid for everything for 3 years. Everything. His tuition, his car, his clothes, his fucking gaming chair that was supposedly for studying. And what do I get? Complaints that the car isn't fancy enough. Eye rolls when he asks for money. Comments about how stingy I am while I'm dropping 100 grand on this family. Sarah was sitting there with this little smile on her face. Like she'd been waiting for this moment her whole life. Mom started doing her thing where she fake cries to make people feel guilty. But I was on a roll. Oh, and let's not forget how I pay you $800 a month in rent, but you still act like I'm living here for free. Or how about the washing machine I bought you that's not as good as Helen's? The iPhone that was needed, but apparently isn't good enough? Dad's precious grill that he used twice? Marcus decided this was his moment to chime in. You're such an asshole. You make all this money and act like helping your family is some huge burden. It's your duty as my brother. I actually laughed, like full-on laughed in his face. My duty? Was it your duty to be grateful? To say thank you? To maybe take care of the car I bought you? Because if we're talking about duty, you failed spectacularly at yours. We gave you a home. Mom was full-on crying now. We let you live here. Let me? Let me? I pay rent. And let's talk about this home. My friends aren't allowed over because the house needs to be quiet. But Marcus can have a fucking frat party at 3 a.m.? I can't use the living room TV because Marcus needs it for studying. Since when does Fortnite count as studying? Dad slammed his hand on the table. That's enough! We're family. Family helps each other. Your mother and I have sacrificed everything for you kids. Sacrificed? Sarah finally spoke up. You've been using him as your personal bank. You don't even ask me for money because you know I'd tell you to shove it. You found your golden goose and milked him dry. That's when I dropped the real bomb. I'm moving out. Not just out of this house. I'm leaving the state. Already signed a lease, already got a job lined up. I'm done. The chaos that followed? Man. Mom started wailing about how I was abandoning the family. Dad was yelling about respect and family duty. Marcus was calling me every name in the book. Sarah was yelling back at them, defending me. I just sat there, weirdly calm. I'm leaving in 2 weeks. Marcus, the Civic is paid off and in your name. Do whatever you want with it. Mom, Dad, my last rent payment will be prorated for the days I'm here. After that, you're on your own. You can't do this to us. Mom was practically hyperventilating. What about Marcus's education? What about it? He's your son. Figure it out. I got up and walked out of the dining room. Behind me, I could hear Marcus yelling, "You're dead to me!" Real original, bro. Mom sobbing dramatically, and Dad saying something about ungrateful children. Sarah followed me upstairs. Holy shit, she said. That was better than any reality TV I've ever watched. I started packing that night. Not because I was planning to leave early, but because I needed to do something with all this adrenaline. Plus, I didn't want to give them time to hide or damage any of my stuff. Paranoid maybe, but by that point, I wouldn't put anything past them. The aftermath of this dinner? Well, that's a whole other story. Let's just say the next 2 weeks were what I imagined living in a passive-aggressive war zone would feel like. Now let me tell you about the 2 weeks of psychological warfare that followed. You know how in movies when someone's about to leave a toxic situation and everything goes smoothly? Yeah, that's not how real life works. At all. The morning after the dinner, I woke up to 37 missed calls and about 100 text messages. Some highlights. Mom, how could you do this to your family? Dad, you're making your mother cry. Marcus, fuck you and your stupid Civic. Aunt Karen, who wasn't even at dinner. Your mother is devastated. Sarah, don't respond to any of them. Also, I'm coming back next weekend to help you pack. I'd blocked most of them by breakfast. Sarah was the only one I kept unblocked because, well, she's Sarah. She's literally been the only sane person in this circus. The psychological game started almost immediately. Mom went from crying and begging to giving me the silent treatment, sometimes switching between the two multiple times in a single day. She'd either be sobbing loudly in the hallway when I passed by, or she'd act like I was literally invisible. Dad took a different approach. He'd corner me in the kitchen or garage and start these long lectures about family responsibility and how I was throwing away years of tradition. My favorite was when he tried to guilt trip me with, "I changed your diapers." Like, yeah, Dad, that's kind of the bare minimum of parenting. Not really a valid reason for me to keep spending thousands on your adult son. But Marcus, this kid went full drama queen. He'd slam doors whenever I was around, blast music at 3 a.m. pointed directly at my bedroom wall, and tell anyone who'd listen about how I was abandoning the family. He even posted this long rant on Facebook about toxic family members. The irony was completely lost on him. The best part? He kept dropping hints about all the stuff he needed before I left. Like he thought I was going to feel guilty and go on one last shopping spree for him. My laptop's really slow. Or the Civic needs an oil change. Or my personal favorite, Jake's brother bought him a MacBook Pro before he moved away. Cool story, bro. Jake's brother sounds like another sucker. I started documenting everything because some of the Reddit comments on my previous posts warned me about potential escalation. Set up a camera in my room, legal in my state as long as it's my private space. Saved every text, kept all emails, took photos of my stuff daily in case anything mysteriously broke. Speaking of my stuff, watching them realize how much of their stuff was actually mine was kind of hilarious. The TV in the living room? Mine. The fancy coffee maker? Mine. The tools in the garage? Mostly mine. The Wi-Fi router and gaming console? You guessed it. Mine. I started making a list of everything I needed to take, and it was basically half the house's amenities. Sarah drove down that weekend like she promised, and thank God she did because things got weird. Mom suddenly wanted to help with packing. She'd come into my room with boxes, acting all motherly, but I'd catch her going through my stuff when she thought I wasn't looking. Dad kept making comments about how certain items should stay with the family. Items I'd bought with my own money, mind you. The guilt trips got creative too. Mom would make all my favorite foods, then cry about how no one will be here to enjoy her cooking anymore. Dad started bringing up random memories from my childhood, like, remember when we taught you to ride a bike? Yeah, Dad. And remember when I bought you a $1,200 grill you used twice? Marcus switched between ignoring my existence and making snide comments about how he'd have to lower himself to get a part-time job now. The one time I did respond, I just said, "Welcome to real life, buddy." He didn't like that very much. The worst was when they tried to involve my extended family. Suddenly, every aunt, uncle, and second cousin twice removed was calling or texting about how I was tearing the family apart. Most of them had no idea I'd been bankrolling everything. They just got Mom's version where I was the ungrateful son abandoning his poor family. Sarah, being the absolute legend she is, started posting receipts, literally, on the family Facebook group. Screenshots of my bank statements showing payments for Marcus's tuition, the Civic purchase, Mom's washing machine, Dad's grill, everything. That shut them up pretty quick. The final straw was when I overheard Mom and Dad discussing how they could convince me to leave my TV and gaming setup for Marcus because he needs something to help him cope with this betrayal. I called Sarah immediately, and we rented a storage unit the next day. Started moving my most valuable stuff out when nobody was home. Work was my only escape during all this. I'd leave early, come home late, and eat lunch at my desk just to minimize the time I had to spend at home. My coworkers probably thought I was gunning for a promotion, but nah, just avoiding World War III at home. One night, I was loading some boxes into my car around midnight. Yeah, it got to the point where I was sneaking around like a thief in my own house. And our neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, came out. She'd lived next door since I was a kid and had apparently heard everything through her kitchen window during the dinner fight. She just looked at me and said, "Good for you, honey. Should have done it sooner." Then she gave me a Tupperware full of her famous enchiladas and told me to be careful driving at night. Sometimes support comes from the most unexpected places, you know? So, moving day. I'd hired movers, thanks to everyone who suggested this in the comments. Best advice ever. Because I didn't trust my family to not accidentally break my stuff if they helped. Sarah took the day off to supervise while I handled last-minute stuff at work. Mom spent the whole morning crying in the kitchen, loud enough for the movers to hear. Real subtle, Mom. Dad stood in the driveway with his arms crossed, watching everything like a prison guard. Marcus didn't even come out of his room. Just blasted Linkin Park's Numb on repeat. Real mature, bro. The best part? When the movers started taking the living room TV, mine, Dad actually tried to stop them. There must be some mistake. That's a family TV. Sarah shut that down real quick by pulling out the receipt from my files. His face when he saw my name on it? Priceless. I'd found this decent apartment in a smaller city about 4 states away. Nothing fancy, basic 1-bedroom with some charm, aka slightly outdated everything. But you know what made it perfect? It was mine. No guilt trips about using the living room, no complaints about having friends over, no random family members walking in without knocking. First night in the new place was weird AF. Like, really weird. I'm laying there on my mattress, still hadn't set up the bed frame, and it's just quiet. No Marcus's gaming rage at 2 a.m., no mom's passive-aggressive sighing, no dad's late-night lectures about family duty. Just silence. I actually had trouble sleeping because it was too peaceful. Then the silence extended to my phone. Total radio silence from the family, like complete communication blackout. Even the flying monkeys, aka the extended family, stopped messaging. Sarah told me Mom had made this big dramatic post on Facebook about respecting privacy during this difficult family time. Translation: she was embarrassed that people knew they'd been mooching off me. Sarah kept me updated on the family situation. She's the only one I still talk to regularly. Apparently, things got real interesting after I left. Marcus had to get a part-time job at Starbucks because gas bills exist. Mom had to start bringing lunch to work instead of eating out every day. Dad's fancy grill mysteriously stopped working, probably because he never bothered to learn how to maintain it properly. The Civic needed repairs, and Marcus had to pay for them himself. The horror. But the best part? They started treating Sarah differently. Remember how they never asked her for money because she was still studying? Well, suddenly they started dropping hints about her helping the family. She shut that down so fast it probably broke the sound barrier. Sorry, she told them, but I learned from watching what you did to my brother. Mic drop. About a month in, I got my first actual mail from them. A birthday card from Mom. Inside was this long, guilt-trippy letter about how much they missed me and how hard things were without me. Not one word of apology, mind you. Just lots of, we're struggling, and family should stick together, and Marcus is having such a hard time. I pinned it to my fridge as a reminder of why I left. Next to it, I put a screenshot of my bank account showing actual savings for the first time in years. The weirdest adjustment wasn't the new city or the job, or even the silence from my family. It was learning to spend money on myself without feeling guilty. First time I bought something just because I wanted it, a decent coffee maker, I actually felt anxious, like I was waiting for someone to burst in and tell me I was being selfish. Sarah visited about 2 months after I moved. She took one look at my apartment, with its mismatched thrift store furniture and half-unpacked boxes, and said, "You look happier than I've seen you in years." She was right. Even with the IKEA furniture I had to build myself, BTW, whoever wrote those instructions is definitely a sadist, the slightly wonky shower pressure, and the neighbor who practiced saxophone at weird hours, I was actually happy. Final update. Here we are at the final update of this saga. Thanks for sticking with me through all this. Writing it out has been weirdly therapeutic. Quick recap. Left my financially abusive family, moved states away, and started living my best life. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs at you when you least expect them. So there I was, 3 months into my new life, actually doing pretty great. Had a solid routine going. Work was good, apartment was feeling like home, finally figured out that damn IKEA bed frame, and I'd even started dating someone from my hiking group. Turns out being financially stable makes you more confident. Who knew? Then one random Tuesday, I get this email from Marcus. Not gonna lie, my first instinct was to delete it. Sarah had told me he'd been having a rough time adjusting to actually having to work for stuff. Welcome to real life, buddy. But I figured it was just another attempt to guilt trip me. But curiosity got the better of me, and Sarah convinced me to at least read it. So I opened it. Y'all, it was actually an apology. Like, a real one. Turns out, after I left, my parents started pressuring him to step up and help the family. Sound familiar? They expected him to get a job to help with bills, while still maintaining his grades. And suddenly he understood exactly what they'd been doing to me. Some quotes from his email. "I get it now. I'm sorry I was such an entitled little shit. They tried to make me pay for the internet bill and I nearly lost it. Can't believe you handled this for 3 years. That Civic you bought me? Actually a really good car. Sorry I was ungrateful." The best part? He got a job at Starbucks and started doing DoorDash on weekends to cover his expenses. Said it was a real wake-up call about the value of money. He even mentioned he was planning to move out himself as soon as he saved enough. I didn't respond right away. Took a few days to process it and talk it over with Sarah. Honestly, don't know what I'd do without her as my personal therapist, LOL. Finally sent him back a short email saying I appreciated his apology and wished him luck with everything. Then about a week later, I got an actual paper letter in the mail from my parents. Not an email, not a text. An honest-to-God handwritten letter. Mom's handwriting, but signed by both of them. This is where it gets interesting. They admitted that they'd been taking advantage of me. Apparently, Dad's hours at work had been cut way back 3 years ago. But instead of adjusting their lifestyle, they just used me to fill the gap. They apologized for making me feel like an ATM instead of their son. The letter included some heavy stuff. We didn't realize how much we were asking of you until we had to do it ourselves. Marcus having to work part-time made us see how unfair we were to you. Your sister helped us understand how our behavior drove you away. Side note, Sarah later told me she'd been giving them hell every time they tried to contact her for money. My sister is a savage, and I love her for it. But here's where it gets really wild. They didn't ask for money. Like, at all. No hints about struggling, no mentions of bills or Marcus's needs, just an actual apology and a request to maybe try talking again sometime. I sat on that letter for a while, talked it over with my therapist. Yeah, finally got one. Turns out watching your entire family dynamic implode is something you should probably process professionally. After thinking it over, I decided to do something either really smart or really stupid. I sent them $5,000. Not as a regular thing, not with any promises of more, just a one-time, here's some help while you figure out your new normal kind of thing. Their response shocked me. Instead of immediately asking for more or acting entitled to it, they sent a genuine thank you note. Dad even called just to say thanks. No guilt trips, no manipulation, just gratitude. These days, things are different. Better, maybe? We talk sometimes, not a lot, but civilly. Marcus moved out like he said he would, got a decent job, and actually takes care of the Civic now. Mom and Dad had to downsize their lifestyle, but they're managing. Sarah's still my rock through all of this. She's killing it in her PhD program, and yes, I still help her out, because she's literally the only one who never tried to take advantage of me. She keeps insisting on paying me back, even though I tell her not to, and sends me detailed spreadsheets of her expenses because she's a nerdy goddess like that. As for me, life's pretty good. Got another promotion at work, started seriously dating that girl from the hiking group. She thinks my family drama would make a great movie, lol. And finally bought myself a nice TV without feeling guilty about it. The whole experience taught me something important. Sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are with the people closest to you. But once you set them, man, life gets so much better. Looking back, I don't regret leaving. Was it hard? Yeah. Did it hurt? Absolutely. But it was necessary. Not just for me, but for all of us. Sometimes you have to blow everything up to build something better. Also, random update. Marcus finally figured out how to change his own oil. Small victories, right? Edit. Holy shit, this blew up way more than my original posts. Thanks for all the awards and support throughout this whole saga. Edit 2. Since people keep asking, yes, Sarah's still awesome. She's writing her dissertation now, and no, I won't stop helping her, because she's literally the only one who saw this BS for what it was from day one. Edit 3. For those invested in my IKEA journey, I finally got rid of that cursed bed frame and bought a real one. My back thanks you for all the advice.